Subtle skills, big results.
Welcome to the Ninja Selling Podcast.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Ninja Selling Podcast. We are happy that you are here. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. Go to Facebook right now, search for the Ninja Selling Podcast if you're on Facebook, and join our community, because if this is your first episode, you're going to love this community because it's filled with over 15,000 people just like you who want to learn together, grow together, and do all this incredible thing. That community is amazing, so definitely go check that out. If you want to learn more about ninja selling and ninja coaching, which is what Garrett and I do a lot, coaching one-on-one with agents across the entire country, along with 30 other incredible coaches. Head to ninjaselling.com or ninjacoaching.com, click the coaching button, and you can learn more about what that might look like for your business. But on with the podcast, because we have kind of a fun stimulation for our conversation today, which I think will be great. But Garrett, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir. You having a good morning?
I am having a good morning. It's a great morning. I got some new energy drinks, and I skipped the coffee because I was going with the energy drink, and liking it.
Yeah. Before we started this today, Matt's looking at the energy drink and he goes, I wonder if I can have another one of these.
It just tastes so good. It's so delicious.
I think we advised against it. I think we decided
We did. Well,
maybe one's good for right now.
Yeah. 200 milligrams of caffeine in one of these. That's a lot. I guess the average cup of coffee is 80.
It's funny me having this conversation with you and Charleston and being like, maybe one's enough. Because if it was me, I probably would be having a second one.
Well, I've decided I'm just going to give it some time. Let's let it cook.
Very adult of you.
You know, taking in, because drinking a cup of coffee, well, I guess if a cup of coffee has 80 and I usually fill up my 20 ounce thing with coffee, that's more like 2 cups. Actually,
it's more
than that, because a cup of coffee. The weird thing about coffee, this is, and I know this is totally off track. Why is it 6 ounces versus 8? Like a cup is 8 ounces, right?
Yeah, but
why is a coffee cup 6? Is it because they're removing the water that gets stuck in the grinds when it's going through the drip thing? I mean, it's confusing to me.
They don't want to give you that. It's all cost savings in coffee.
Yeah. So anyway, welcome to the Caffeine Conversations podcast. All right, Garrett. Hey, let's get on with the show, shall we?
Yeah, let's do this. So you had a great quote, and so you brought this one to the table, and I want you to read Hormozi's quote here, because I think it's really good, and I think it's an interesting perspective that I think a lot of us fall into. So have at it, man.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know who Alex Hormozi is, he is a entrepreneur, rose to his entrepreneur status with success through the gym space, and now he owns acquisition.com, and they acquire companies in all different industries. And anyway, pretty popular on social media. And this is a quote that I saw that he put out there, and it says, "Whenever you win, people will immediately assume you took a shortcut, because the idea that you ran the entire race and won before they even got off the couch hurts their own ego so much, you cheating is the only reality their ego can stomach."
I love that quote so much because I watch that happen so much in our industry. I watch it happen as we set, fitness goals for ourselves and other things that we do. Then you watch people accomplish, and we try to justify it in our head, and we try to figure it out. And for some reason, very few of us go to the route of man, they worked really hard to obtain that. They worked really hard to get to that. It's always some crazy shortcut that they probably took that we didn't know about. And we got to figure it out. That whatever that silver bullet was that they figured out, we got to see if we can figure it out now, instead of just doing the work. So you shared this with me the other day, and I'm like, that is hands down. I got to get that framed, put somewhere, because we go into mastery and we go talking about not I'm going to butcher this now.
Be in the presence of masters.
Yeah.
So that you can grow from the experience.
Thank you, Matt, for filling in the blanks.
I was thinking the same thing. I was just it was in the back of my head too. I was like, if Garrett doesn't say it, I'm going to say it.
And this is one of those opportunities of understanding that when you're standing in front of a master, instead of ripping them down for how did they maybe cheat to get there or take a shortcut. Like, learn from them, hear their journey, take them out to lunch, learn what they did to get from point A to point B. Because when you really start to look at it, you're like, well, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And that's what every time I've ever done it, Matt, I get to a place of like, well, of course you got those results. And good for you for staying true to it. And then you got to start asking yourself, like, what were you doing that allowed you or helped you stay true to it and stay on the path? Like, what did you do to remind yourself consistently to show up and be this way? And Matt, this is what we work with every single day with people, like all day long.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm so happy you took this perspective on it too, because there is the perspective of like, oh, people don't understand how hard I'm working and all that, which is kind of what Alex is talking to with this. But we really need to check our own egos first and understand how are we looking at others, because I remember when I was managing an office and teams were becoming the thing in the industry. I mean, they were already a thing, but the mega team was really starting to come around, and people would hate on these team leaders. Oh, Garrett doesn't even answer his own calls on his listing. It's like, well, there is another listing agent listed there. Like, why does it have to be Garrett? And they must just be doing this. And it's so bad for them. Like, then why are so many people working with that person? I had a conversation with an agent once. And I said, if that agent is so terrible, why do they have so many listings and work with so many people? And I said, well, they must be doing something deceitful.
Yep.
Oh gosh, really? Or maybe they're doing something right. That, and thinking about how Alex worded this here too, is that our ego cannot process. So we just a default go to, well, they must be cheating. Right.
Yep.
And we have to check that own ego in ourselves. I have to do this too, by the way. This is something that we all need to do, and say, okay, well, let's learn from this, understand what's going on, what type of work needs to be done over what time frame in order to then achieve what I actually want, and detach my own goals from what that person is doing as well. Maybe you don't want a big team. So what does it matter even what that person is doing anyway? So I'm happy you took that perspective. And then the other side of it too is being comfortable in understanding that some people are going to give you this type of energy, right? Which that's hard to take too.
Yeah, I think it's this balance you got to kind of understand as you grow and you are building the results that you want to build, that not everybody is going to celebrate with you along the way, because they do get jealous and they do want to figure out how you got there. And a lot of times what you'll find is, instead of them like being outwardly jealous or outwardly, like, they just distance themselves from you.
Yeah. And
I think that's an interesting thing that I've seen myself do it as I've grown up, where I've seen people achieve certain successes and that are successes that I want to achieve. And I've found myself, instead of going like, I want to be more around them to learn more what they do, my brain goes, you know what? I wish I had that, and I'm frustrated, and I just find myself not going like, I don't want to go hang out with them right now. I don't want to put myself in there. And it's just me protecting myself is all it is. It's not it's crazy how our brains work. And it's crazy how we have our visions and our pictures of reality and what we think it takes to get certain results. And when it doesn't fit the picture, it creates a ton of cognitive dissonance internally, because we're sitting there going, the picture doesn't match. Everything I know in that amount of time doesn't produce those results. Everything I know from what I saw that person, from who I thought they were to who they are now, the pictures don't match. And it can create a lot of turmoil internally.
Oh.
And this is where it's like, it's just so important. Ask questions. Go learn.
And detach ourselves from this, because I see this happen, particularly in real estate, with people who are close to us. So you're the agent and you have like, well, why aren't my friends and family using me? Why do these people just think that this industry is easy, right? Like, oh, you must be busy. Oh, real estate agents, you guys make a lot of money, right? And particularly with all the news floating around about all these lawsuits, judgments, and things like that. It's the people that are closest to us that we typically get that kind of energy from. And I think that's because they're the ones with non-consciously, put ourselves in their shoes, with the egos that are most bruised. It's like, well, I remember Garrett as a kid. No way he's built this kind of business. Are you serious? Garrett has done that? Like, I used to kick that dude's butt back in school. right?
Well, so here's the interesting thing that I've always been fascinated by about where people enter our lives. Because there are people that will enter our lives at certain points where they knew us as the kid in high school. There's a lot of people, I don't know how many people listen to this that knew me back when I was in high school, but they might have some ideas of who I was, because I was the kid that struggled in school. I was the class clown. I provoked a lot of situations. I was just kind of a goofball, just having fun in life, but taking nothing serious at that moment in my life. And then you grow up and you become a completely different person as you grow and as you learn and you bring in more knowledge and you decide, okay, who do I want to be as I move through this world? But there's many of you that have come to me in my world at different points. And luckily, I still hang out with a lot of my high school friends. I love them. We're good friends now. A lot of them are CEOs and run companies and really high. One of them's really high up in the fire department. Like, we've all figured our ways out. We've all become respectable human beings. But they hold on to a lot of baggage of who I used to be, and they've let a lot of that go, which I love them for, that they've been able to kind of see past that and go, okay, this is Garrett now, and this is what I've seen Garrett do now. But there's a lot of people that it's hard to make that connection. Now, there's an actor, Ethan, and his last name's like, I was trying to type
Hawk.
look for him. What's that?
Hawk.
He's the one that it was in Clerks, and is that who is that his last name?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, it's killing me. It'll come around here, but
Maybe it is Ethan Hawke.
he was a huge overweight dude. And it's funny, if you knew him, like when we all grew up and you saw him, he was always played the heavy guy, very, very, very overweight. And in the last like 5 years, like he made a transformation and he is a totally different dude. That guy is built like a machine now. And it's really interesting to watch because like anybody who saw that might go, oh, here's how he got here, and take all these assumptions of what he's, and he did do some medical stuff. At the same time, he also threw himself into the gym every single day.
You're talking about Ethan Suplee.
Thank you very much. And so when you look at him, like my kids only know him as he is right now. They don't know him with all the other stuff that I know him as. When I see his face,
Dude, Friday Night Lights, he was like
huge. But it's funny how we get these perspectives of people. And from like Ethan's perspective, all the people that are getting to know him now as the person he is now, as he grows and he becomes better, he's set a benchmark of where he is right now and he's going. And I think we're dealing with a lot of benchmarks that we have as other people see us, our parents see us, our loved ones see us. Like, these are interesting things that we overcome as we grow. And sometimes it's easy to stay in those kind of stereotypes that people have of us, because that's how they, it's like, I feel like the mom that always comes in and goes like, oh, let me make you a sandwich. Let me make you a sandwich. It's like, no, mom, I'm cool. But mom wants you to be that same kind of pudgy little fun kid that you were back in the day. I'm not saying sandwich, but like she's making the real sandwich. It's like, we're making grilled cheeses with all the bad stuff in it.
Yum.
Like, I look at that and go like, she's trying to kind of keep you into this person that she knows because it's safe. And to watch you grow maybe into something else, even though she's very proud of you, it still messes with her baby and who she sees her baby as. And she might look at you every time as you're physically fit and taking care of yourself, going, you need more meat on your bones. You're too thin. It doesn't mean, and just kind of like knocks you down when you're around her. These things happen in our world all the time that keep us in these places that we don't really want to be anymore, and it stop us from being the people that we want to be. And I think this is just something we got to step back and I think acknowledge who those people are that love us for who we used to be. And at the same point, embrace the people that support you in being the person that you want to be, and realize that there's going to be some people that are really going to fight with you along the way as you're making big growth.
Yeah. And understand that it has nothing to do with your change. It has to do with their change or lack thereof.
Yep.
Right. And because Alex says this, you cheating is the only reality their ego can stomach. Right. So a lot of times this too is non-conscious on their part.
Oh,
right?
totally.
You're just like, well, that's the only thing that makes sense. I just can't perceptually see any other way that Garrett has achieved this success. So he must be dealing drugs. Like that's what he's doing when he's going to show homes.
Must have got an inheritance.
Right. Oh yeah. Got an inheritance, and we actually hear that when I see people who's maybe have parents or grandparents who pass away, they're like, oh, they must have gotten paid. And it's like, Or like when people have a lawsuit due to something, right? They're like, oh, they must have gotten some big settlement, right? And it's like, how do you know, for one? Two, who cares? And three, like focus on your stuff, right? And the hardest part in real estate is dealing with this when it might be coming from clients and who you're working with.
Yep.
And I think that's where we have to really fight the defense mechanisms of like, well, let me show you how much work I really do, right? We don't have to prove it because that's not going to change the opinion. If it is so bruised on their end because their ego can't handle it, it doesn't matter. Just show up and do an amazing job. That is like, keep doing the best, absolute best version of yourself. And people may come around. They may not. But at some point, they're going to see enough other people going, yeah, dude, Garrett, he's a rock star. They're like, he is? Really? Like, tell me about that.
Well, so this is interesting. So this just recently came up for me. I was coaching an agent, and she said to me, she goes, I'm barely giving out pre-listing packets anymore. She goes, I have them. She goes, but I'm not handing them out. And she goes, and I'm barely doing a listing presentation. And she kind of had that questioning sound in her voice of like, am I screwing up? Like, am I not? And I said, this is an interesting thing because we build a business, and the whole time we're building a business, the whole thing is trying to prove to somebody why we're worthy of being able to work with them. As we grow a really successful business, as people trust you and they see you as the expert and they see that you're the one that's going to be there to take care of them, it changes to, am I worthy enough to have you help me with my house? Like, what do we need to do? And I find as ninjas get better and better and better, and they grow and grow and grow, and they fine tune this business that they're growing over years, they run into more situations where people are like, hey, do you have time to help us? Can you take on us right now? I'm not even sure our house is nice enough for the type of real estate that you do. Can you please help us with this? And you're not doing your pre-listing packets sometimes, and you're not, and I'm not encouraging anybody to not do pre-listing packets and not do listing presentations, but a lot of times it's walking in and being like, here's my listing agreement, signing things up, and they're going, I'm so happy you're going to take care of this for us because we trust you. It's a crazy thing to get into. It's like, I look at like when I had my surgery on my ankle, I researched a whole bunch of doctors and people in town trying to figure out who in the world am I going to have cut me open here? And what's the danger of not having the right surgeon do the surgery on my ankle that I needed to have? And I started to research that if things are done out of alignment, if they're not done right, like I got a lifetime of maybe ankle pain and foot problems compared to it being done right and going back to normal life. And this one doctor was so highly recommended to me, like that when I sat down in his office, it wasn't like tell me, like, show me your background of all these surgeries and how many you've done and, you know, what this looks like. I was just like, you are so highly recommended. How do I get on your calendar? Like, just get me in. Like, let's just do this. Let's just get it done. And I think that level that you get to, there's a lot of people that look at that doctor that's at that level that just has people walk in. They're like, how does he do it? Like, people just come to him and they're just like, let's do this. And he's got more surgeries lined up on the board and he's not doing all the stuff that I'm doing, trying to build business, but he did it. Put the time in. You as real estate agents out there, those ones that are watching agents that are just putting deals under and they're just picking up listings and they're not really working that hard and they're having this great life and they're doing all this stuff. And you're going, how do they do it? They must be cheating. There is so much work that was put in on the front side that they're now reaping the benefits of all this great hard work that they've done for so many years. And you've got to acknowledge that. You've got to stop and acknowledge it. Because again, once they've built it, it's absolutely incredible. And it's at everybody's fingertips. Everyone listening to this, it is right there for you. Just got to do the work.
Absolutely. Yeah. No cheating. No cheating.
No cheating.
Disconnect from other people's opinions. Garrett, you got one other thing that's you got to say.
Well, and anybody who actually cheated, you're going to know because it's a short-term gain.
Yeah. They're not going to be there for long, right? The other side of it is if you're looking at that from your perspective versus receiving it, who cares? Like if they're not, I mean, I get it when you get up to certain scales and everything, like, well, I care. This person needs to be put in check. Okay, fine. But like from this, when we're talking about this, like the best way to prevent people from cheating around you is to be the best that you can possibly be, because no one can be able to then cheat to beat you. And like, what are we trying to win anyway? right?
Well, this goes back to karma too. I have found more often in my life when I watch somebody who's technically cheating or going down a route that you're like, that's unethical or whatnot, you can get really mad over it. You can get really fired up because like, well, look at all the money that they're making, cheating these people or things like that. Or just recently had a situation where somebody blatantly stole somebody's client, like badmouthed them and stole somebody's client in real estate. And you look at that kind of stuff and you go totally unethical, like not okay.
Yeah.
And my thing is it always comes out in the wash. I can get really upset about it. I can get really bent about it. I can go and try to call all the parties in and be like, they're bad. Let's punish them. But the reality is that it comes out in the wash every single time. You go, yeah.
And I look at that and I say, well, hey, I'm going to learn from that and say, well, maybe I wasn't doing a good enough job to be able to protect my clientele from having somebody come in and lie about me and them actually think that it's true enough that they want to go do that as well. I look at it from that perspective because the only thing we can control is ourselves. And sometimes we just got to let it go.
Well, and that cheating element, I think, again, if that even pops into your mind of like they shortcutted, they didn't do the work or whatnot. Again, all you have to say is like, just give it a year, give it 2 years. It's okay because whatever they're doing, if it is going down a path that was, fake, made up, fraudulent, it comes out in the wash. The reality is that the ones that are actually doing the good work, putting in the time, building the great relationships, that stuff's unbreakable.
Yeah.
Like it literally, and well, you can break it, by the way. You still need to be a good person and not like, I've seen people get in very bad behavior, blow it up.
Yeah, there's elements, but
as long as you stay on a true course of being a good person and taking care of your people, it's an incredible thing to watch the strength of that business. And a lot of times I'll watch people once they build it, they're like, even them themselves are like, this is unreal. Like, this is insane. Like, I'm not having to do all this work. I'm not having to go through all these hoops with people. They're just giving me their business and saying, hey, can you take care of it for me? And it feels unreal and it feels not normal. It feels like something that you've only heard about in business. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's actually happening.
Yeah.
That's what you've created. You got to own it, love it, run with it.
Yeah. So Garrett, just one last time for the quote so people can hear it on the way out here. Alex Hormozi said, whenever you win, people will immediately assume you took a shortcut because the idea that you ran the entire race and won before they even got off the couch hurts their ego so much. You cheating is the only reality their ego can stomach.
Before they even got off the couch.
There it is.
That's the best part. That's my favorite part of the quote. Before they even got off the couch.
Yeah. Crazy.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate this quote. I appreciate you sharing it and bringing it today. And
yeah, good discussion.
Yeah, for all of you listening to this, if you want to learn more about ninja selling, kind of what we do on a day-to-day basis, go to ninjaselling.com. You can find coaching under there under Ninja Coaching. Got a ton of great interviews. If you're listening to this and you're wondering about coaching in general, we've been doing our Ninja Spotlights. You can actually go into the ninjasellingpodcast.com. It's our website. You can go into Apple under our podcast and search Ninja Spotlight, and it will pull up all the interviews that we've done, and you can go and check those out. So we have some amazing stories of people and their journeys of ninja, and I just want to let people know you can go and hear how that is so you can go figure that out for yourself. If you want to be part of a group of people that are like you, that listen to the podcast and are all growing together, go check out the Ninja Selling Podcast community on Facebook. And until next time, Matt, always great, man. Appreciate you and your time and your energy. And to everybody out there, thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks, everyone.
If you enjoyed today's episode and would like more, visit us at theninjasellingpodcast.com.
There you will also find links for more information about ninja selling and coaching. Have an incredible day.